Welcome to Fabulous Women Over 40, hosted by celebrity stylist Kara Allan. Join Kara as she interviews amazing women, sometimes younger and amazing men as well, in their 40s and beyond. Here's Kara with our Fabulous Woman of the Day.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Fabulous Women Over 40. And my name's Kara. I'm your host today, the Style Goddess. And my guest today is another fabulous woman. She's a mom, she's a philanthropist, she's a model, a host, a writer, and star of The Real Housewives of Toronto. I give you Joan Kelley Walker.
Great.
How
Thanks
are
so
you
much
today,
for having
Joan?
me. It's nice to be here. Nice to see you.
Yes, thanks for being here. It's good to see you too. The last time we were together, we were talking with Laura about dating and dressing and fashion. So good to have a cool
the show that we
conversation
do
with
is
you today.
audio only. So a lot of times I don't actually get to see people until I look them up on Instagram. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it is good to see
Thank
you.
you.
You're looking well. Thank you for being here. So, today we're just going to have a little conversation because I love talking to people about their lives and how they became themselves and how they're still becoming themselves. And I find that, and how you're impacting the world in that way along that journey. So we're just going to have a nice little conversation. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing and your family. I know, are you native to Canada?
I was
Were
born
you born
in
there?
Canada. I was born in the prairie provinces in a province called Saskatchewan, which is basically above North Dakota. And my dad was a grain farmer, so I grew up in a very, very, very small town. So small, it's not even a village, it's a hamlet. So like under 200 people. And my dad's a grain farmer. My mom was a nurse.
Right.
So it was a great place to be from. Yeah.
Nice. And so were you an only child? You have
I have
siblings?
one sister and a whole lot of cousins. Big extended family. Yeah.
Okay. So how was it growing up on a farm? I mean, my grandmother grew up on a farm too, so I'm sure you have plenty of interesting stories about that as well.
I kind of felt like a bit of a duck out of water because I was always the one really interested in fashion and television and podcasts or radio. I mean, they didn't really have podcasts back then, but and there was really no outlets. Like you'd have to go into the small city that was close by, but it was pretty limited. So I kind of worked with what I'd had, or I'd work all summer. I'd get a summer job cleaning or something, and I'd save up all my money. I'd go out and buy clothes. So that was very exciting. My sister and I had a thing that if she got a new top or something, she got to wear it first. And then after that, it was like free for all. Whoever has it can wear it.
Nice. So you knew then when you were younger that what was your kind of propensity for style then? What did you like to get dressed up and kind of prance around the house? Or like, what was your thing when you were young with style and fashion?
I loved it. We didn't have, I had a lot of hand-me-downs from skates to shoes to clothes. And that was okay. That's just what we did. But I always liked to try different things.
Right.
When I was a little kid, I used to walk around with like leotards on my head and pretend I had all this long hair. How embarrassing.
That's cute though. It sounds like my granddaughter.
You're a granddaughter? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I'm about to have my fourth
You're
grandchild.
so young. Amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, I just turned 50 this year, so it's been interesting. I've been having grandchildren for the last 6 years.
Young grandma, for sure.
Yeah, I like to be the grandma because, we're not old enough to be grandmas yet. I don't think, you know what I mean?
Is that what they call
you? It's a new
you?
era
Grandma?
now. But yeah.
Grandma? Yeah.
Well, that's what I call myself, but they call me Mimi. So I'm Mimi. So, yeah. So were there any anyone in your was there anyone in your family that kind of nurtured that style, that gift that you have for walking around and wanting to be dressed up or anything like that?
That's a good question. It was the 70s. So people had, the bell bottoms and the palazzo pants and, the big belts and stuff.
Right.
And I love that. Sorry, someone's coming in, so my dog's barking. Sorry about that. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. So
okay.
the 70s I thought was fabulous. I loved everything about it. And I was trying to learn how to sew so that I could make some of my own things. I wasn't very good at sewing, but it made me appreciate the structure of clothes and the feel of clothes. So, yeah.
Which is important because I think a lot of people don't necessarily, unless you really know clothing, you know what I mean, and fabrics and construction, like you said, and quality. You don't really know how to put things together sometimes because it's like, what makes a garment quality versus one that makes is cheap. Like what do we call it now?
Yeah.
Fast fashion, I guess. The stuff you can just wear once and throw away because it's going to fall apart. Do we really care about quality anymore? Or is it just about, the quick look for the moment and then,
I think people
get
do.
rid of it?
I think people do.
Kind of.
And I think, I know for
Yeah.
myself, I'd much rather save up and have one Gucci garment than all the fast fashion. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, to have one really nice, good quality piece, or at least
it
a
doesn't
few.
have to be Gucci for sure.
Something
you don't
that's
have to
really
spend
nice.
that kind of money to find good quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so true. So tell me a moment, like a defining moment that happened in your teenage or your young adult life that kind of changed the trajectory of your life, if you had one.
Wow. Let's see. I think there was a lot of defining moments. I did a fashion show when I was 14 for a big Canadian company called The Bay, which is like a department store. And I was like, okay, I want to do this.
Okay.
I really want to do this. How do I do more of this? There wasn't a lot of modeling in the province at the time, but it really made me want to follow it, even though in the small town, nobody really knew how to mentor or guide or help. So I just kind of left after first year university. I was like, okay, enough. And I came to Toronto and I was like, okay, now what do I do? So I think it's different now. I think I was kind of shy to say, okay, I want to be a model. Like I didn't want people to think that I was so good looking or anything. I was just really interested in the whole industry, the makeup, the hair, the fashion, everything that goes into it. So I think that fashion show really, would be that defining moment.
That really changed.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because there's just something about it, putting on a piece of clothing can make you feel, and getting your hair done and your makeup done, all those things. It does.
Yeah,
it makes a big difference. I think,
lot of power
for women,
in
especially.
that. And that's one thing that I like. People,
True.
People ask me quite often about that, but I always say, even if I'm doing radio and no one can see me, I feel better. If I do my hair, put on a little bit of makeup, put on something that I feel good in, I think that's really important, even if you're staying home.
Right. I think Patty Stanger mentioned that too, the millionaire matchmaker. She was saying that it's kind of a scientific thing that even the act, it's not so much the makeup, but the act of putting it on is like a self-care thing, and it releases endorphins and hormones and things for us that makes you feel better. So, it's not just about how you look, but it's about how you feel.
Self-care is so important.
Makes a big difference.
I find the older I get, the more important.
Yeah.
And we're all so busy. I mean, everybody is, that you have to carve those moments for yourself.
Yes. Slow down, or life is going to slow it down for you. Let's just say. Did you have any mentors when you were growing up that you looked up to, and did you ever get to meet any of them? Was there anything that someone said, or like an Oprah moment or something that stuck in your head that kind of led the way for
When
how
I
you
was
became
about
you?
19 or 20, I had just moved to Toronto, and I was doing a bit of modeling, I was waitressing, I just wanted to get myself on set
Mm,
somewhere, on a video shoot, on a movie shoot. I just wanted to see and observe
right.
and watch. And there was a camera guy that was like, okay, I'll help you. And he got me on set. I don't know what I was doing, like getting coffee, or he just found me any job. And so that's what I did. I sat down and I would
Right.
like ask people when they had a break, like, so what do you do? What is your job? And I learned so much. And then I ended up doing makeup
Mm,
because I thought like a lot of it is like a man on camera. You just
mm,
have to kind of powder him down and make sure that his hair is good. Um, so I thought I can do
right.
that. So then I started working as a makeup artist, and I just happened
Hmm.
to be really good at it and I really enjoyed
Right.
it. So that led me to, I did a bit of hair, I did a bit of styling, a bit of wardrobe. And I also learned how to take
Hmm.
time code notes so that if there's a script, if I had one person on camera, I would get them ready and then, wait. So then I thought, well, I can get them ready and also take time code notes while they're shooting. So I was kind of doing the jobs of two people, but I could handle it. And so I carved this little niche market for
Yeah.
myself in the industry, and they'd pay me for like one
Nice.
and a half people, and I was still there learning. And
Mm.
so yeah, so that was, I don't even know where I was going with this, but that happened.
Right. Well, I mean, it's important because that, when you look at it from a standpoint of like, I kind of want to do this, but I don't know how to do this. So it's like to get in and immerse yourself in any one like language, right? If you want to learn to speak fluently, you go live in that area, and that's the way immersion. So it's the same thing when you're trying to learn a craft or get into an industry or whatever. It's like, hey, I'm
Yeah,
willing to do whatever, I'm willing to mop the floor just as
yeah,
long as I'm in the building, whatever it might be. So yeah, and then you get to meet all the people and you network, and they see that you're there and that you're
hmm,
serious about what you're doing. So I think that's amazing. I think that's a tip for some of
yeah, I
these
think
younger
so. But
millennials,
the
let's just
industry
say.
has changed a lot. Like now you can go to school and study uh, you know
Hmm.
broadcasting or makeup or like any of that you
True.
can learn beforehand, but for me that wasn't really an option, so I
Yeah.
didn't even know that that was a thing. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, I think practical knowledge is good, but at the same time, there's nothing
Hmm.
like on the job training, because you know what I mean. You get real first hand knowledge of what's happening in the moment, and there's some things that you just don't learn out of a book. Yeah, you might get the topical knowledge of this is what it consists of, this is what, I need to know, but actually sitting on set and dealing with people and talking to them and interacting with them makes a huge difference. I mean, I guess that's why
Yeah,
interning is such a thing, because you get to sit there and learn firsthand what it's going to take and things that you wouldn't
yeah,
necessarily learn in a
for
book.
sure. Did you go to
So
school? What did you study?
I did. I
Oh.
studied communication. They didn't have any style or fashion at George Mason, and Marymount was the closest university that had it, and it was kind of far. So I was just like, I'll just do communication because I need that every day anyway. So why not? I did other training for styling and makeup and all the other stuff, but yeah,
Hmm.
I went for communication.
Good for you.
So
So would you consider yourself a
what do
stylist
you
first?
I really liked makeup first, like you did. Like I just was fascinated about how the fact that you can apply makeup and it can change your whole look. Whether you want to glamorize yourself or make yourself not so visible or whatever you want to do, makeup can totally change a look. So I was really into that, and then I kind of got into the clothing because I was kind of nerdy and tom girlish and whatever, and I noted that when I said I think I'm going to take over dressing myself for my mother, and I started putting outfits together, then I would show up at school and whatever, and people
Hmm.
started responding to me differently. So I thought, there's something to this. If I have the, because I was kind of shy, and all of a sudden people were really paying attention to me, and I was like, well, that's something. So
Hmm.
that's kind of my foray into everything, was makeup, then the clothes. But I didn't start taking formal makeup training till after I
Hmm.
got into the styling. So
Interesting. Yeah. Because it all
yeah,
supports each other.
isn't it our path?
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't have just clothes
Yeah.
without hair and makeup,
Yeah.
because that's an unfinished picture, right? So, and accessories too. You got to have all those pieces into a great looking
Yeah.
image. So, and we know those things, and it's almost innate, where most people don't know that. Like, they don't, that's where we come in to teach them how to do those things, because they know about how they kind of want to represent themselves, but they don't necessarily know how to do that, how to make the picture complete.
Yeah. People
So that's where
are
we come in.
not confident, I think, is the biggest problem. Most people know what they feel comfortable in and
Hmm.
what they want to wear, but they're just not confident with their
Right.
choices.
True. Yeah. I always look at it like it's a collaboration, because they're the biggest representation of the knowledge about themselves, but it's our expertise that helps them bring that out in clothing, to translate that into clothing, into makeup, because it's not just about what you wear. It's about where you've traveled, what music you like, what food you like, all the things you're passionate about. That all comes out in your clothing and your dressing and your mannerisms and all of those things. So it's all part of who you
Hmm.
are,
Yeah, I never thought of that, but yeah, that's a really
That's
good point. I like that.
everywhere you've been, all of it. So it's a cool thing. I really enjoy it. It's been 20 years of helping people change their lives by changing their wardrobe. So
Hmm.
it's a good thing. Yeah. So your mom, right? You have two boys.
Well, one
How
of them
old
just
are they?
walked in. He's 20, and then I have another one that's 22, and I have two stepkids that are 28 and 30. They're amazing.
Okay. So yours is kind of similar to mine, are 28, 26, and 22. Two girls are the older, and my son is 22. So
Yeah.
similar age ranges. Um, what's the best part you found about being a mom, and what was
Oh
your biggest
boy.
challenge being a mom, and to being bonus mom
Yeah,
to
the biggest
as well?
challenge, my husband, he's retired now, but he had this big career. I'm very busy, and we did a lot of traveling.
Hmm.
And where I grew up, people did not have nannies. And so all of a sudden, we had a nanny already for the
Hmm.
stepkids and then for my kids. So that was a bit of a struggle for me of where do I let go? How do I let go? I want to be completely hands on. I need to be completely
Right.
in control. So that was hard for me. Like I'm such a nurturing person that
Yeah.
to let someone else in like that was difficult. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So if I had my
Mm.
choice, I probably would not have had a nanny, but just logistically we had to.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah,
sense. You need a little help. I mean,
yeah.
it
Or
takes a
you do
village to
everything
raise
else so that
kids
I can
these
be with the
days. So
kids.
right. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Motherhood is rewarding and challenging, and sometimes
Yeah.
a thankless job. Let's just say. But, I'd rather have it than not. So
Yeah, totally.
I'm sure you feel the same. Yeah. So, what legacy do you think you would want to leave your kids and the rest of the world? Like, what's the impact that Joan wants to leave, to let the world know she was here? And
Oh
what
my
do you want people to
goodness.
know, or what do you want them to feel when they think about you or talk about you? Like, she was so fabulous, and she did X, Y, and Z, or she made people feel great, or whatever it is.
Hmm.
What's your
Well,
thing?
I find the older I get, the more I'm sort of like analyzing those things. Like what's really working in my life? What isn't working in my life? How can I
Hmm.
adjust things to make it better? How can I be true to myself? I
Right.
find that I'm often pulled in so many directions that it's really hard to get that me time and to say no. A lot of
Yeah.
times we just sort of say, okay, I'll just do that and get it over with and then move on. Um, so I think that growth,
Mm-hmm.
that transition, and that finding the truth within yourself and really honoring that. I think that would be the best thing that I could pass on to my kids. And I think people are interested in that journey of other people because, there's countless books written about it. I'd love to write a book. And I always thought I'd love to write a book. I don't know what to write a book about, but I think it would be that exact thing is, no matter where you are in life or no matter who you are or how people perceive you, I still think we all have to honor ourselves in that way. And it's okay to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important that you were here and, there was people's lives were touched by you, even if it was your own community or, your girlfriends or your family or whatever it is. People knew that you were here, and it matters. It matters that you were.
And my dog, there's
Your
people
dog's
outside
co-signing for me.
Aw.
They're so funny. They're like the kids, they're like, I'm here and I don't care if you're doing whatever.
If I just saw you like yesterday for 12 hours, I'm going to bark at you again today. Yeah,
exactly. So how long were you on the Housewives of Toronto? I wasn't that familiar with that, that particular
they
one.
only did
how long
one
were you
season,
on?
which was greatly disappointing because it was really fun and it opened up a lot of doors. And, that's how I met Laura and started doing the radio show. And that's how I met you through that. So there was a lot of connections made. I was not a fan of watching the franchise. So I really, I can't say I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I know people that are just addicted to it. So now I look at reality television in a whole different lens. Like you never know how they're going to perceive or how they're going to portray you. So you're a bit vulnerable.
Exactly.
But it was great. And I wish we had more than one season. So it was national, Canada, and then it went all around the world. But I think you have to have at least 2 seasons for it to do the circuit in the States.
I think to be syndicated. Interesting though, because DC was like that too. DC only had 1 season. Well, I think that had to do with the White House breach and all of that craziness. But I was listening to an interview with Eden Sassoon the other day from the Beverly Hills, and she was dishing it, man, like talking about everything that went on that show and all the machinations and the debauchery, and it was just like really fascinating because you never get that view, right? We look at it from just seeing you on TV and how fabulous it looks and the little bit of craziness that goes on, but it seems like if you had a certain mindset of just going on like Bethany Frankel did, like this is just for my business or this is just for whatever it is or I'm just having fun, then maybe it doesn't end up being so like from what she experienced, which wasn't the best from what she said. So I mean, I don't know. I think it's all about the drama is what they really are trying to push. Even
for sure,
they make it look fun.
My thing was I just wanted to be myself. I wasn't going to throw tables or throw wine at anybody if that wouldn't be something that I would want to do in the moment. So that was my intention. But they do stir it up. Like you can go for lunch with someone and have a lovely conversation. They'll come over and say, okay, that was great. Can you talk about this? Like you don't have to. They don't put words in your mouth, but you get more screen time, the more vocal that you are. So, yeah.
Right. Which makes sense. So are you still friends with any of the girls
good
on
friends
the show? Or?
There was 6 of us, with 5 of us are good friends. The other one, I'd be friends with her. She just kind of took herself out. Like she never communicated with any of us again. So I respect that. That's her decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Right. So what have you been doing since the show and what do you have coming up that we can support you on?
Well, I'm the philanthropy editor for Living Lux magazine, which is great. I get to interview people that
Oh,
run
nice.
charities and people that have benefited from charities and agencies and services. So I love that. Yeah, so that's
I
fun.
love.
I
Mm-hmm.
also am the co-host of the dating and relationship show with Laura Bellotta in Toronto. So that's fun.
Yes.
And other than that, I like to
Mm-hmm.
ski a lot in the winter. I like to be in at the lake in the summertime, and we have a lot of guests, a lot of friends coming and going. So I'm always cherishing the moments when I have my
Mm-hmm.
kids here, my family, friends. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm
Yeah.
doing. And this summer, really trying to do the journaling, eat well, like, the checklist of things that we're all supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
doing, meditate, eat well, sleep well, work out, all those things. I'm really trying to be mindful to incorporate those things into my weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Let's just say. Oh, you're okay.
Okay, sorry, that was my
Yeah. It's.
husband.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're. Yeah, I was saying if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Once that goes bad, it's like trying to get the train back on the track. you know. So it's a really good thing to be healthy and mindful about what we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're saying. The conversations we're having, and the people that we're interacting with, for sure. So, so how can everybody find the dating show, and how can they find out about the Lux magazine and everything? Where can they follow you and um,
My go-to is
get in contact?
Instagram, and I put everything on
Okay.
my site. So it's Joan Kelley Walker official is my Instagram handle.
Okay.
Of course, we're on Facebook and all that too, but I just find Instagram has the most traffic. So I always post the
Mm-hmm.
radio shows or the podcast link, um, and same thing with Living Lux. So.
Okay. Sounds
Mhm.
good. So one last thing I wanted to ask you, like who, if you could meet with anybody or have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, living, who would it be? And what would you talk about? What would you
This
ask
is a
them?
very easy answer. I'm a huge fan, still am, of Princess Diana. I think she had such a fascinating life,
Mm.
and I think she was so kind and beautiful and strong.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, so I think she would be great to be like a girlfriend with. Yeah,
Yeah. She seems like she was just really
yeah,
cool, by modern day standards as far as royals are
yeah,
concerned. She just seemed approachable and fun and
yeah.
kind, just a
Yeah,
kind
and her
person.
her sense of
So,
style, like just watching the way that it changed over the years and the decades, and how fashion changed, but how she just became so much more confident and just really owned it and was such a
hmm,
trendsetter.
right.
I found that to be really
Yeah.
interesting. I remember sitting up, in Saskatchewan with my roommates watching the wedding at like 4 in the morning. It's very exciting.
Right. Yeah. Would you consider doing a clothing line or jewelry or anything like that? Is that something you have an
I did
interest
have a
in?
clothing line. Right after Housewives came out, I had a royalty, like an agreement with a manufacturing company, and everything was in Walmart. So we had
Oh,
beautiful
nice.
designer dresses for Walmart prices. And
Hmm.
I still have pieces and I
That's
still wear
so
the
cool.
pieces. They're great quality, very washable, comfortable, easy to
Nice.
wear. And yeah, so we did that. Oh, and a coat line as well. Mhm.
Hmm. Did you find that to be a fun undertaking, or was it a lot of work? I
You
would
know what? I
imagine
kind
trying
of
to.
like they did most of the work, but I could come in and say yes, no,
Okay.
yes, no. Okay, let's not do it all in this color, change this part. Um, and they were pretty good, but then
Right.
Walmart could come in and say, okay, we want only these ones and we want them in this color. But as far as the design and narrowing it down, that was on me, and I did really, really enjoy that. And it was so nice, like to go to a wedding and see somebody wearing my dress, or out on the street even.
Mm.
That was
Yeah.
exciting.
That sounds really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that would be fun. And for your best relationship tip, since you and Laura are hosting the show, what would be your best relationship, or for single women, let's just say, that are looking for a guy, what would be your best relationship
I
tip for them?
definitely would say honesty. You have to
Mm,
seriously be honest with yourself and honest with the other
mm-hmm.
person.
Yeah. Is there such thing as too much honesty though with a guy? Like if you don't want to show up the first day and be like, I want to be married and have 2.5 kids in like a year. Like, is there such a thing
Yeah,
as
I
that?
don't know. It's all timing sometimes.
Because there could be a guy that would be like, okay, his cab light might be on,
Yeah.
and then that
Yeah.
will work, right? You just never know.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, it's been really fun chatting with you. You're such a fun, just how can I put it? Real cool
Oh, you're so
person. I
sweet.
don't know
You're
how
so
else to
sweet.
say
You
it,
know what? One thing I
but
forgot to mention that I'm going to mention, if that's okay. I started
mm,
something called the
sure.
Give Back Collective with my sister-in-law, who's a
Oh,
purse designer.
okay.
So she makes these beautiful handmade purses.
Okay.
And so it's a collection of creative people, different designers that have come together to support charities. So they put a couple of pieces or one
Mm,
piece or whatever into the collective, and the
okay.
profits of that go to charity. So that's very exciting. Yeah, and I have
Nice.
workout stuff, and I have a collab with Lazy Pants and
Nice.
some bikinis. So you can check out more.
Ooh. And is that on your
The
Instagram
Give
as
Back
well?
Collective, yes, or givebackcollective.com.
Okay. And the bikinis and the lazy pants, where can they find those? On your
Yeah, Give Back
Instagram too?
Collective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love that. Yeah, because we definitely want to support you in any of your endeavors and get that
Thank you.
out there, because anything for charity is
Yeah.
great. Yes. So we'll have to have a follow-up conversation at some point, because I know you're going to have that book come
Yes.
out. We got to figure out a good
Yeah.
topic for it, right? Something juicy. And definitely we'll speak to you again. So thanks so much for being here and having a great
Yeah. This was
conversation with
really
me.
nice. Thanks for having me.
Sure, anytime. Have a
Okay.
great day,
Bye.
rest of your week. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please subscribe so you won't miss our next conscious conversation with Kara and her fabulous guests. Follow Kara on social, on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Clubhouse, at Kara Allan, and connect with her on her website at karaallan.com. Also, leave a review if you enjoyed the conversation. Thanks again, and see you next time.